Welcome to our unit on cost analysis. In this unit, we will look at cost being a fundamental aspect in economics. Cost analysis basically will involve examining various cost components that a firm may incur during its operations. Now, these costs really play a very crucial role, especially in determining the pricing strategy that a firm may choose to adopt. In terms of profit margins, in terms of business efficiency, cost analysis is essential. So I'll break down costs in terms of the following elements. Fixed costs, what are these? Total costs, what are they? Average costs, marginal costs, the concepts behind there. So when you're dealing with fixed costs, basically we are looking at the expenses that do not change with production or with output levels, both in the short or long run. So these costs may remain constant regardless of whether the firm is producing 1 unit or 1,000 units. For instance, what examples of fixed costs do we know? We have rent, salaries, insurance premiums. Regardless of your production, these ones will be constant. Variable costs, on the other hand, refer to costs or expenses that vary directly with production. For instance, as the production increases, the variable costs will increase. Examples would be raw materials, labor costs, utility expenses. These ones are directly related to production. The more you utilize them, the higher the average or the variable costs. We also have the total costs, which are actually the combination of a fixed and variable cost. So total costs will usually encompass these two. It is a complete cost that a firm will incur to produce a particular service or quantity. We also have average costs, which are simply the unit costs of production. We have 3 average costs. We have average fixed costs, which are the fixed costs divided by quantity of output. We also have average fixed costs, which are given by the total variable cost over the quantity. We also have the average total cost, which is given by the total cost over quantity. Then finally, we have the marginal costs, which are additional costs incurred when producing 1 additional unit of a good or service. So this marginal cost will help us make decisions about production, because every additional unit we're going to produce in a firm will incur a certain cost. So these are very essential to understand under cost analysis. So fixed costs I've already explained. They are fixed and constant. Variable costs, they change with the volume of production. This is how it looks. Total cost is simply given by adding the fixed cost and the variable cost. So these costs come in 3 types: the average fixed cost, the average variable cost, and average total cost. And the formulas are given by the total fixed cost over output. This is average fixed cost. Anything total divided by quantity is average. So the total variable cost over output is average variable cost. All right. They are usually U-shaped, influenced by the 3 stages of production. So in stage 1, the marginal product is always increasing whilst the average variable cost is falling. In stage 2, the marginal product is falling whilst the average variable cost begins to rise. In stage 3, the marginal product is usually negative whilst the average variable cost is sharply creating a U-shape. This is how these curves apply in the 3 stages of production. And when dealing with the average total cost, it's simply found by dividing the total cost over quantity. Now, these formulas make sense when you're writing them. So I said total cost, who remembers, is total variable cost over what? Plus total fixed cost. Right? Then if we divide the total cost over quantity, the T becomes an A. So this is average total cost. Divide the total variable cost over quantity, the T becomes an A. This is average variable cost. when you divide the total fixed cost over quantity, the A replaces the T, average fixed cost. So if we have a function, for instance, total cost is equal to 40 plus 5Q. The total cost is this part here, which the fixed cost is a constant part. Variable cost is what? The one with the letter. So the change in total cost over the change in quantity is actually what we call the marginal cost. Precisely, if we have a scenario where we have following output is given by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have the given that output, what else will we be given? The total cost, right? Total fixed cost, total variable cost. So if we're given total cost, fixed cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, total cost, all right? Average fixed cost, average variable cost, average cost, and the marginal cost. This is under cost theory. For instance, we have what? The fixed cost. Fixed costs are usually fixed. So if we have 10, 10, 10, for instance. Okay. Then we are told that the variable cost is what? Maybe 2Q. So here, where there's Q, we're going to put a 1. So 2 times 1 is what? 2. Here, where there's Q, we're going to put a 2. Okay. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. You're going to put a 3, we're going to have 6. You're going to put 4, we're going to have 8. You're going to put 5, we're going to have a 10. Then the total costs will now be, when you add the fixed cost plus the variable cost, here we have 12, 14, here we have what, 16, here we have what, 18, and here we have 20. That is how we find that. Then the average, we said whenever we divide the fixed cost divided by quantity, this is average. So 1 into 10, 10. 2 into 10, 5. 3 into 10, 2.3. 4 into 10, 2.5. 5 into 10, 2. By simply dividing the total fixed cost over the quantity. Average variable cost, we're dividing this over quantity. So here we're going to have 2. Then here we're going to have 2, 2, 2, 2 throughout. This we're dividing the quantity into the variable. Then the average costs, which is also called the average total cost, is when we divide the total cost over quantity. 12 divided by 1 is 12. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Alternatively, simply add the two average costs, they make the total cost. So 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 plus 2 is 7. 3.3 plus 2 is what? 5.3. 2.5 plus 2 is what? 4.5. 4 plus 4 is what? 2 plus 2 is 4. Like I said, our total average total cost is simply the total cost over quantity. So we can call this column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, column 6, column 7, column 8. So how are we finding column 7? It's simply column what? Column 4 over column 1. How are we finding average variable cost? Column 3 over column 1. Average fixed cost? Column 2 over column 1. So the marginal cost is the toughest to find. It's the difference between, so 12 minus nothing, 1 minus nothing. First one is actually a dash. Then here, 14 minus 12 is a 2, divided by 2 minus 1 is a 1. So 1 into 2, it is 2. 16 minus 14 is a 2. 3 minus 2 is a 1. So 1 into 2, we get a 2. 18 minus 16 is a 2. 4 minus 3 is a 1. So 1 into 2 is again a 2. 20 minus 18 is a 2. 5 minus 4 is a 1. So 1 into 2 is a 2. So coincidentally, we have 2 throughout. Now let me take you to last year's exam paper. This was carrying how many marks? 10 marks. Complete the table. So you need to know the missing figures there. So let's try. How do we find that? Who wants to try? So we know that this was found by adding this and that. So you need to use wherever, whatever is, okay. So we need to complete this table. So we can start from here. Marginal cost is the difference between, so when you add 15 to the 110, what do we get? 120 what? 125. It was the difference. This minus that divided by this minus that is 15. That's where the 15 is coming. Meaning 130 minus 125 over 1. So the difference is, it doesn't matter. So this minus that, what we get? The 10.
Colin, sorry, go back to how we got 120.
125, we added the 15 to the 110 because we know this is marginal cost. Remember, marginal cost is what? Change in total cost over change in what? Change in quantity. So for this 15 to be there, there should have been a difference of this and 15 to get this one. So change 125 minus 10 is 15 divided by 4 minus 3 is 15. So that is how we get this 15. So this 15 was there. So I simply add the 15 to that to get this.
Yeah.
Right? Then how was this one gotten? The fixed cost. Or we can say we need to use like special paper 1. Okay? We're amending the missing figures. So what else can we use? The weak link. So what else is a weak link? The cost, which is fixed, we know that fixed costs don't change, they're fixed throughout. So even whilst closing your eyes, you're going to put 10 throughout. If this is fixed cost, so when you add this and that, the fixed cost, no, the fixed costs are what? Not these ones here. The fixed costs are this column here. So how do we get the fixed cost? So the average fixed cost, so average, so this will give us an idea of this one. We know that average fixed cost is total cost divided by quantity. So for us to get this, we multiply these two. This times that one is with 50. So this will open up a lot of windows. So meaning 50 divided by 5, that's where the 10 is coming from. Now this will give us an idea of this being throughout 50. You get it? 50.
Yes.
Now that being done, so this plus that, fixed cost plus variable cost, what will it help us find here? The total cost, which is what? 100. Is that clear? Because
Yes.
fixed cost was that to give us that. This question was not easy. You needed to think a lot. Now, how do we find the average variable cost here? Divide the average fixed cost, we divide the total fixed cost over 100. So here we're going to have what? 25. All right, together?
Mhm.
Okay. So this will also help us open this window here. We know that the total cost is 130. So we subtract these two, 130 minus 50 to get the remainder here, which is the variable cost, because these two must add up to that. Is that clear? So here, 80 plus 50 is giving us 130. Yes. All right. It's giving us that. So let's keep thinking. What other box? This is like special paper 2. What other box do you think we can manage to identify? Similarly here, if these two must add up to what? 105. So what is remaining here? Subtract this from there. So 50 from that, what are we getting? So in fact, this column, or to subtract these ones here, you can start from here. 80 minus 50 is what? 8. So this is that. 50 minus 50, this is okay. 110 minus 50, this is what? 60. Okay. 125 minus 50, what do we get?
25.
Pardon?
75.
25, correct. So now we're remaining with a few boxes here. So how do we find the average fixed cost? It's simply the total fixed cost over quantity. So this and that is 50. 50 divided by that is 25. 50 divided by 3, what do we get? 1, remainder 2. 2 into 20 is what? 6.67. Okay, then again, 4 into that one, what do we get? 1, remainder what? 1, 4, 5. So we're done with this column. Now, how are we getting these figures marginal? The difference in the total cost. The total cost is here. So the first one is always a dash because there's nothing there. So 100 minus 80, what do we get? 20.
20.
110 minus 100, what do we get? 10. 125 minus 110, what do we get? 15. 130 minus 25. 130 minus 25, what do we get?
Answer 5.
It's a 5. So this one was not correct. We're supposed to put a 5. Okay. So that is that's clear. Yes. So this is how we're supposed to get the 10 marks. So this very question will be your homework. I will end my class here. Unless there are any questions, please ask now. Any questions?
No question. Just that it was tricky, eh? It's a
Yes.
tricky question.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. You don't need to spend too much time to understand concepts. All right. So I'll end here.